How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Political Fight Club. My name is Ian, and this will be a bit of a different show. It's not so much a give and take. What I'm doing today is I'm taking a political spectrum quiz. Now, this consists of 60 questions, and most of them, the answer at the bottom is, how much does this issue matter? A lot or a little? And it gives you kind of like a political prompt, ideology, that kind of thing. And so a lot of people think that the spectrum's right or left, but it's actually you have right or left, and then you have authoritarian or libertarian. And so most people aren't as simple as they think they are, and I haven't taken this before, so I might learn a thing or two about where I sit on this spectrum. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and read these out. I'm going to try to not take a lot of time on each one, but just so you can see where I am, and then maybe you can take it and see where you are too, because you might be a little further left or a little further right than you originally thought too. So let's just jump right into it. So first one, laws should restrict abortion in all or most cases. So in this I disagree strongly. And the issue matters, I'll say one away from a lot. Unions were indispensable in establishing the middle class. I'm going to go with neutral. I think the middle class is just kind of what is going to happen. I think they definitely had something to do with the strength of the middle class. But although the middle class is getting torn out, I'm just going to go ahead and...
Yeah, the verbiage is a little bit weird on a couple of these questions, so that'll be a thing where you'll have to clarify what you mean.
And I don't think this matters too much to me as to the history. I think it matters where we go from here. So, to me, that matters a little. In nearly every instance, the free market allocates resources most efficiently. Definitely disagree strongly with that. And I'm going to go ahead and say this issue matters a lot. Public radio and television funded by the state provide a valuable service for citizens. I'm going to go ahead and agree strongly. I think public television is very important, although I won't say it matters a lot right now, so I'm going to stay neutral on that one. Some people should not be allowed to reproduce. I wish, but you can't legally make that a thing. So
and this is one of those ones where I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, we have a population problem, so I almost wish that we could have like reproductive cap on everybody, but it has nothing to do with like eugenics or any type of like, a minority. It's just like everybody has to stop. So like, it's a weird thing for me to see something like that too, and I'll do my political compass test on another.
Some people definitely should not be parents, but I don't think legally there should
right,
be.
Agree. And then that's why I have to clarify on certain questions, right? There's going to be other ones that have even more awkward verbiage.
Access to healthcare is a right. I'm going to go ahead and agree strongly. If you agree that the pursuit of happiness matters, then you can't be happy if you're sick all the time. And I think that you might not always be able to be helped. You should always have that access. So I'm going to go ahead and say that matters a lot, because it does. Rich people should pay higher tax rate than the middle class. Yeah, of course. And that matters. Fuck them rich folks. School science classes should teach intelligent design. Definitely no. Strongly disagree. They should not, and that does matter a lot, because real science should be taught, not pseudoscience. Marriage must be heralded for the important role it plays in society. I'm going to strongly disagree. I don't think marriage really matters at all. If you want to get married, that's great. If you don't want to get married, also great. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Sometimes war is necessary, even if it means you strike first. Ooh, tough one. I'm going to go ahead and say disagree strongly. I think war happens when somebody strikes first. And I'm going to say it matters a lot. Patriotism is an overrated quality. Agree strongly. Patriotism is dumb.
America!
And I don't mean like loving your country. Loving your country is okay. But patriotism is not some quality that deserves admiration. Radio stations should be required to present balanced news coverage. I'm going to disagree. I don't think they should be required to do anything. Doesn't really matter too much to me.
And balanced is a weasel word. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Government should do something about the increasing violence in video games. Strongly disagree. Leave my video games alone. Let me beat up people.
Don't touch!
Yeah, I want to beat people to death with pipe wrenches in my own time, however I see fit. If our leader meets with our enemies, it makes us appear weak. Strongly disagree. Meeting with your enemies is what grown-ups do. If you never meet with them, then you're just gonna hate the idea of them and not hate who they are as a person. Hate should always be personal. We must use our military from time to time to protect our supply of oil to avoid a national crisis. Disagree strongly. Oil is dumb and we shouldn't even use it. Although I do like shampoo and some plastics, but, you know.
There are other types of oils than petroleum oil.
Right. Strong gun ownership rights protect the people against tyranny. I'm gonna agree. Partially, I think that's dumb because your AR-15 is not going to stop a drone if they want to bomb your house. So the military power of the people does not exceed the military power of the government. However, we have more people.
Right, it's the same thing as like a rattlesnake. It's like you're gonna, as a human, if it bites you, if you step on it, you kill it, but it'll hurt you, and they need to know that we're armed enough to hurt them.
Yeah,
and even if we don't take them down, like
yeah.
they need to know, they need to be like aware. And that's why I happen to be, I'm on the left, but I am for gun rights, and you'll find that out about me as I take my test as well.
Yeah, it makes no sense to say I'm spiritual but not religious. I disagree. I think that makes complete sense. Religion and spirituality are completely different. And I think it matters a little bit, not a lot, because verbiage and vocabulary are important when organizing different aspects.
Yeah, and right now, like, we're not having a lot of philosophical arguments right now. Right now we're having a lot of, like, tangible arguments about economics and politics.
It is not our government's responsibility to regulate pollution. I strongly disagree. I think the government is really the only ones that can, unless you're going to allow people to burn down companies.
Right, well, 71% of all pollution is created by the top 100 companies. That takes centralized government regulation.
Gay marriage should be forbidden. I'm going to agree strongly because no one should be happy in marriage. If gay man's happy, no marriages should be happy. No,
that's Doug Stanhope, I think. He's like, yeah.
I'm going to disagree. I think anybody should be able to marry whoever they want as long as that person is of legal age and not like a dog. But anything else, like you want to marry like a lamp or a dude or whatever, go ahead. And I'm going to say a lot, not that I really think it matters too much to me personally, but it does matter. The freedom matters. It should be against the law to use hateful language toward another racial group. I disagree. Although I don't appreciate hateful language, I think anybody should be able to say whatever they want to say.
And it depends on what you mean by hateful as well, too. So semantically, assault is hateful language, but calling someone a nincompoop is also can be considered hateful, depending on who's judging it.
Right. Government should ensure that all citizens meet a certain minimum standard of living. That's a tough one, but I guess if you want to make sure people are living okay, then they would be the only ones. I'm going to go ahead and disagree. I want everybody to have a certain standard of living, but I don't think the government should have to ensure that they... Like, what if somebody wants to live in squalor? Let them live in squalor. Now, that might throw me off a little bit, because I'm not sure if it means, that they should ensure, which means they should give people that, or ensure as in they will force people to live a certain way. So
I don't think you'll have to force most people to want a house and clean water and stuff like that. Like, in my opinion, it's like I think that they should, and I don't want to give you too many of my answers, but I think that the government should absolutely have to maintain a certain amount of living for humans.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and change my answer because it said ensure, not force. So I think that the government should make it to where people meet a standard of living. They should be able to eat and have clothes and yada yada.
The bare
Right, so I'm going to go ahead and agree with
necessities.
that one. Change my answer. Like I said, wording is... You have to be careful when doing anything political. You have to pay attention to the words. It is wrong to enforce moral behavior through the law because this infringes upon an individual's freedom. I agree. I don't think things that might be morally reprehensible should always be illegal. Cheating, lying, that kind of thing. But some things that are morally reprehensible should also be illegal. Pedophilia, theft. So, I'll say that matters a lot, especially in this day and age where we're trying to control people who disagree with us. Immigration restrictions are economically protectionist. Non-citizens should be allowed to sell their labor domestically at a rate the market will pay. There's a lot of words on that one, but it basically means that non-citizens should be allowed to make money off their craft. And I'm going to go ahead and strongly agree. If a plumber comes here from Mexico and he's doing a great job, then he should get paid just as much as an American that would also be doing a great job. And most illegal immigrants pay taxes anyway, so there's that. An official language should be set, and immigrants should have to learn it. I'm gonna disagree. I think that if you are coming here, you should probably learn how to speak English, but I think that making it legal is a little much. You could be very valuable in different aspects and never have to speak
Right,
English.
and this is one of those ones where it's very nuanced, and I don't think it matters a whole lot.
Right.
And I have thought about it a lot, and I teeter-totter between the two.
Right.
Like, I don't really care that much.
Right. And I guess I could always go with neutral on that one, but I'm going to say the government shouldn't really say what people have to know before they come in. Whatever maximizes economic growth is good for the people. I'm going to... Man, that's a tough one. Because yes, in a perfect world, but no in practice. So if you think that economic growth would make its way to the people, then absolutely.
But they're blocking it. The oligarchs get all the economic
Right.
growth. Any wealth accumulated goes to the elites. So really not.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with neutral because,
Right.
like I said, in a perfect
Okay.
world, yes. In our current world,
Okay.
no. And so because it's neutral, I'm going to keep does the issue matter also in the middle. Racial issues will never be resolved. It is a human nature to prefer one's own race. I'm going to go ahead and say agree. Not agree strongly. Not that I dream of a world where there are no race issues, but biologically people are inclined to have more empathy towards those of their own race. And there's also people that will get mad because black people can jump and dance, and they're white and they can't.
It's a sad truth because this has actually been studied, and that's frustrating because the idealist in me says that's strongly disagree, whatever. But it's true that actually people in general do kind of feel more comfortable around their own race and demonize others, right. And that's just because that's human nature at this point in our evolution.
Well, it's biology,
and it's frustrating because it is. I think it's tribalistic, but we could move beyond it. But most studies show that we have not.
Yeah, we can put ourselves in the shoes of someone that looks like us easier, and therefore we can emphasize more.
And it's frustrating, but that's true.
Yeah. People with a criminal history should not be able to vote. I disagree strongly. I do know that a lot of people are like, hey man, they messed up, but I don't think one mess up should ruin.
And we'll talk about why the Boston bomber argument on this is bogus in a different show.
Marijuana should be legal, absolutely. I think you should be able to put anything you want in your body. The state should fine television stations for broadcasting offensive language. I disagree. Cuss all you want. Doesn't really matter to me too much because they wouldn't do it anyway because they want kids to be able to buy cereal.
And I don't really care about language at all. I mean, honestly, that stuff is vestigial. We're growing beyond it.
It does not make sense to understand the motivations of terrorists because they are all self-evidently evil. I disagree strongly. I think that understanding why somebody does something is the most important.
Exactly.
You can't combat fanaticism if you don't know why people are turning to it. It's just like if you have 17 girlfriends and they have all dumped you and you never care to know why, and then one person comes up and says, hey man, when did you shower last? And you say never. Oh, boom.
There's no self-reflection at all, man.
There are reasons people do things, and knowing
reasons.
those reasons are very important. The lower the taxes, the better off we all are. I wish. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think if you lower taxes on individual people, but tax corporations and churches more, things would be better. But I'm going to go ahead and say I disagree because it just says lower the taxes. And
as a general rule, I would also, I'm on your page there.
Yep. 32. Minority groups that have faced discrimination should receive help from the state to get on equal footing. I don't know what it means by help.
Let's just assume it's about reparations.
I'm
Are you for or against reparations?
I'm kind of for it, kind of against it. So, for instance, I think that a lot of Indian tribes should get more land. I think that if you can trace your ancestry back to a certain slave owner and that company, or there was a family that owned a company, and that company still exists, then you should get some money. My family didn't come over here until way after slavery had already taken place and was over with. So, do I want my taxes going to reparations when I had nothing to do with it? I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and say I agree. I'm not going to say agree strongly, because like I said, it's a little iffy on
I'll
the
answer
details.
when we come on this on my when I do the same test. I will assume reparations as well, and I'll explain my answer.
It is wrong to question a leader in wartime. Strongly disagree. I think you should question leaders all the time. Even if you agree with them, you should question them. Tighter regulation would have prevented the collapse of the lending industry. Also agree. I agree strongly. I think the lending industry was stretched too thin. I think they were too predatory. I think they were let to go do anything they wanted, and they're dealing with those consequences. Not that I think there's anything wrong with lending money, but when your rates are like 9,000%, that's a little much.
Yep.
35. It makes sense and is fair that some people make much more money than others. Yeah, I agree. I think if you work harder or you make something creative and people like it, you should be able to make, a lot of money. I think that your money should benefit others too, but I have no problems with people making tons of money. Toppling enemy regimes to spread democracy will make the world a safer place. Yikes. Spreading democracy, I agree with. Toppling regimes, no. I think that should come from inside the country, and it should be the people's will. And I think we should take our nose out of it, even if they deserve to fall. The state has no business regulating alcohol and tobacco products. I disagree. I think anything that is consumed should be regulated. I don't want to go blind from drinking alcohol, and I don't want to smoke fentanyl. So I'm going to go ahead and say that also matters a lot to me. Regulation is important. If an unwed teen becomes pregnant, abortion may be a responsible choice.
And see, this is such a loaded question. Like, it's so loaded. Like, there's... Go ahead.
Right. I don't care if a teen...
The verbiage is so bad.
I don't care if she's unwed.
Right.
I
Like, the question should be, like, is abortion... Do you think abortion is okay in circumstances,
Right,
like
says,
medical stuff, or...
Yeah.
But it goes unwed, like, it makes it a religious thing, which... That doesn't apply to me at all.
Yeah.
So the verbiage is really loaded. It's bad.
So what I'm going to say is, I'm literally just taking this. Abortion may be a responsible choice, and I'm going to go with yes. I agree strongly. Sometimes abortion is a responsible choice.
And that's why I did it too, but it's like the unwed thing, it's like such a weird thing,
Yeah, sometimes I think abortion is a selfish decision, because you just don't want to stop partying or whatever have you. Sometimes it's a very responsible decision because you can't take care of a baby. I'm pro-choice 100%.
Yeah, so it's irrelevant, the unwed thing, or it really doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a right.
International trade agreements should require environmental protections and workers' rights, meaning no free trade with countries that lack pollution control or labor protection. I'm going to go ahead and agree. I don't know if I agree with the fact that it should be required, but I agree with... I think any sensible country should put those in if they cared about the planet. So, yes, I'm going to go with agreed. I think that companies need reined in a little bit. Gay equality is a sign of progress. I agree. I agree strongly. Gay people are just people. The state should be able to put a criminal to death if the crime was serious enough. See, for this, sometimes I want to kill a guy because he
it's
deserves
so
to
weird.
die.
I flip-flop a little bit too, and the stat that always brings me back on this one is that we kill about 4 or 5% of the wrong people. So in the end, I always fall on I'm anti-death penalty. If I were in Congress, this would be one of those things where it's like I would be willing to side on certain people's side in exchange for something else because I'm not that lefty on the death penalty.
Right. And sometimes people get caught red-handed, and you know for sure they did it. And so, yeah, but sometimes you don't, and then they kill people, and then you find out later that they were innocent. But this doesn't say, state. It just says, should the state be able to kill some people? Yeah, but I know what it means, and so I'm going to go ahead and say disagree strongly. I am also anti-death penalty, even though sometimes I think some people deserve to die.
And the rationale I always use is that a lot of those people, they want to die anyway. So, the real heinous crimes, a lot of times you're doing them a favor by wiping them out.
Right.
It actually benefits them.
You could just make their life
horrible. Put them in, put them on, prison for the rest of their lives. That's actually worse than death. I would argue for a lot of these.
42. The military budget should be scaled back. Yes. Jesus Christ, yes.
$770 billion.
Now, am I worried about the growth of China? I am. I'm not gonna lie, but that's another time. We can go into that another time. I think that's a big topic.
We could do a whole show on it.
Economic competition results in innumerable innovations that improve all of our lives. I'm gonna say agree, although most innovations that really help don't come from economic competition. They come from somebody just wanting to make something better or easier. That being said, sometimes economic competition does make innovations that do improve people's lives. So like I said, in a perfect world, yes, I will go ahead and agree. That doesn't really matter way too much to me. It is not our place to condemn other cultures as backwards or barbaric. I'm going to go ahead and agree. I think we can, but if you're from me where you believe that ultimately morality is kind of like this facade that doesn't really exist and that humans are just animals who have constructed a framework of things that aren't real, like honor and courage, you just have actions and reactions, basically, and so if I'm being true to my philosophy, I'll say it's no one's place to judge anybody. Am I still going to do it and be a hypocrite? Yes.
Well, one of these days, then, we're going to have a debate on cultural relativism, because I think I disagree with you on that one. But anyway, go ahead. We'll talk cultural relativism. That's a fun one. I talked about that in my ethics class in college. It was one of my favorite discussions.
I argued an entire class of Christians and one Muslim for 3 days on that topic.
Well, we'll talk about it. That'll be fun, because we disagree here or there, and I'm trying to make notes as I go along, listening to your answers.
45. When one group is slaughtering another group somewhere in the world, we have a responsibility to intervene. Oh, man! Again, tough. It's like the toppling regimes thing. Do I want it to happen? No. No, I do not want it to happen. Do I think genocide should be stopped? Absolutely. Do I think we have a responsibility? Part of me says yes, because I'm a humanist and I want everybody in the world to live happy lives. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to agree strongly because there is nuance here, but I'm going to go ahead and agree because, for instance, if we had intervened with Rwanda,
right? Yep.
Things like that.
Sierra Leone, some of the horrible things.
But if one sect of government, in other ways, if it's a civil war, sometimes we're better staying out. So I'm going to go ahead and agree, not strongly agree. I'm going to say it does matter a lot to me, though, because, in my opinion, human life is very precious. We'd be better off if we could just lock up some of the people expressing radical political views and keep them away from society. Would we be better off? Yes. Should we? No. So I'm going to go ahead and disagree strongly. I'm going to say the issue matters a lot, especially with the spread of misinformation and fear-mongering that we have going on. 47. Unrestrained capitalism cannot last, as wealth and power will concentrate to a small elite. I'm going to agree. That's just how it goes with corruption. With actual pure capitalism, that would not be the case. With what we have currently,
corporatocracy, yes. Oligarchy.
And I'd say unrestrained capitalism will always lead to oligarchy. So I'm going to say I strongly agree, and that the issue does matter a lot. 48. It is a problem when young people display a lack of respect for authority. I disagree strongly. I think young people are naturally inclined to display a lack of respect and authority because they're still questioning the world. And I think you need to understand that when dealing with young people and teens and anybody, because they might have very important nuanced views that people set in their ways don't get. And so I think listening to their dissent is important, and it also changes how we live our lives. All the great things that have happened. I mean, part of the reason this country exists is because young people are like, fuck the police. And these redcoats. When corporate interests become too powerful, the state should take action to ensure the public interest is served. I'm going to say I strongly agree. I wish that the government didn't have to take action, but it has been shown through history where the government had to break up monopolies and that kind of thing. And I'm going to say it does matter a lot, because when you have a corporation more powerful than the government, you have a problem, because the government, it should be the people. A person's morality is of the most personal nature. Therefore, government should have no involvement in moral questions or promote moral behaviors. Tough. I'd say I disagree. I think sometimes we have to rein in the extreme people who think eating people is okay. Or
right, and this one again,
okay.
The verbiage bothers me, because to me, I could care less what you do to yourself, no matter how heinous. So long as you're not infringing on anyone else's rights, I don't care what you do to yourself, as gross as it is. And so that's where I draw the line, and that's why I wish they would have worded the question a little bit better, because, like, what does immorality mean to certain people, or like what does a moral act versus an immoral act mean?
Right. Some
like,
people don't like tattoos and they find that immoral.
Exactly. Or like, I don't care if you want to roll in your own feces, if you're only doing it to yourself and you're not hurting anybody else, I have no qualms whatsoever with what you do, literally. In fact, I also don't care if you kill yourself. Like, I go that far. You're allowed to do whatever you want to your own body, torture it, do whatever you want, deform it however you want. I don't care.
Or even if you agree and you meet somebody else and you're like, hey man, eat part of me. Like, hey, some people find cannibalism immoral.
Right, but exactly, as long as it's not infringing on anyone's rights. Yeah, exactly. And I'm a purist on that as well.
But I do think the government does have, you accept the terms of being a citizen because the government offers you things, and protection is part of those things. And I think if you're doing behaviors that are not moral because they hurt others, then it is somebody's job to intervene.
Right.
And I'm going to go ahead and say the government should be involved in some cases. And I'm going to say it does matter a decent amount. I don't want free reign of, anybody to do anything they want. 51. The state should not set a minimum wage. I disagree. I think there should be a minimum wage, and if you have a problem with it, then you should be pro-union. And if you are anti-minimum wage and anti-union, what is your fucking deal? A nation's retirement safety net cannot be trusted to the fluctuations of the stock market. I agree strongly. I definitely don't think a nation's retirement safety net should be trusted to the stock market. That is
especially with what we know about the stock market now.
Yeah. 53. Offensive or blasphemous art should be suppressed. Definitely disagree. Be as blasphemous as you want. 54. Optional. Please share some info about yourself. Not that anyone here really cares. 18 to 29. Only 2 genders? Fucking rude. Select a country. Man, what if I want to be from Angola?
Yeah, like it affects the outcome.
Right, who cares? But, I'll do it for, if anybody's doing a...
And I'm just going to predict that you and I are about the same on the libertarian scale. We might be a little bit different on the left-right scale.
It says select a race or ethnicity. I am 2.8% African and 1.4% Neanderthal. Should I put mixed race?
Is Neanderthal a race? I don't think it's a race. I think that's an evolutionary step that no longer exists.
Well,
All right, let's see.
All right, so this one is, what should I pick? U.S. Democratic, Republican, Libertarian?
It doesn't matter. I put green. Because I voted green in 2016.
Yeah. Get my results. Let's find out who I am.
Yeah, let's see. I'm interested. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Yep,
so it's on a grid. It's on a grid, an XY axis, 10 by 10 grid. The farther left you go is culturally. The farther up you go is authoritarian. The farther down you go is libertarian.
So I am left and down. So I'm a left social libertarian, which is pretty accurate. I mean, that's what Kyle
Kalinske got when he took his. Yeah.
Now, I think most people would fall similarly in this category in the U.S. Not right where I am, but if you look at what people like, they don't care who gets married, usually. They might not like abortion, but typically they're pro-choice. They like to have their guns. They like to have the freedom. They don't think they should be infringed too much. I think the majority of Americans would be lefty social libertarians if they took this.
Yeah.
But if you think I'm wrong, then take it and let me know.
So he's 5 left and 6.2 libertarian. So it's just to give you an idea. When I took this, I was 6 libertarian. So I was very, very close. Left, I am farther left than you. It's just a matter of how much you'll have to tune in next time to see.
It's also hard too because some questions you might not answer the way you think you would because you're wondering about the verbiage.
Yes.
So if the question had been asked a different way, would I have answered differently? I'm sure. And that's also one thing to look at when you pay attention to polling, is how they frame the questions. So some of these were framed from a standpoint where it appeared that they were more vague, more general, and then I usually went with my worst.
The safe choice.
The safe choice, yeah. So had they been longer, more detailed, or had the start of the quiz clarified what is moral, like when we say it, what do we mean? And then I might have had different answers. But I'd say it was a good test. It was a fun quiz. It definitely made me think more in depth about some things, see where I'm kind of on the fence teetering. So I definitely think more people should take this for sure.
Yeah, this is the go-to quiz that a lot of the political pundits on the left were taking a couple of months ago. I am going to take it on a different episode here, but like I said, it was pretty close. Like I think it was just under. You're at 6.22 libertarian. I think I was at 5.8 something. So I was slightly less libertarian than you. But if I were to retake it, it's going to be right around 6. Because I don't remember, and I don't think I could reproduce it exactly the same way. I forget.
Yeah.
But we'll do that in the next episode. All right, guys, have a good night, and we'll see you next time.